Screwed either way. Take them off to read, to see everybody.
All right, so starting again, we're going to call to order our planning board meeting and public hearings on Wednesday, the 21st of May at 6:07 PM. First thing we're going to establish is we have a quorum, which we do.
Yep, yep.
And the first item is under public hearings, item A, which is the site plan review for Malia Wilson at 46 Moon Point Road, map U12, lot 14 in the Shoreland District. They're seeking to demolish an existing seasonal camp and build a new structure with a possible 30%, up to 30% expansion, which is allowable by ordinance. And I believe, Sam, you're here representing your client? Yes. Okay. Do you have anything you want us to consider, Sam, since the last time we saw you?
No, I think we've got pretty much everything in order.
Okay. Is anyone here regarding this matter besides Mr. Park? Perfect. We did conduct a site walk last Sunday of the property. Saw the location of the proposed build, the new septic system, which will be much further from the water, and a much more sufficient system. Anyone on the board have any questions for Mr. Park?
I've got one question. When we were at the sidewalk, we saw that the waste pipe going into the ground,
Yes.
and I know that you're gonna clean up the area. What happens if you open that up and find a mess?
Then we would deal with that matter at that hand. I'm not sure if that's even in the records, what's there. I don't think it was,
It's probably
I think
nothing,
it's much more of just you could call it a French drain. It's,
a cistern of something, right?
yeah. I mean, if it, obviously, not doing any site work at the moment, we don't know what's underground. And I'm not sure if the records even show anything, what's there, so.
Right,
Depending on what we would find, obviously, we would deal with that, with the matters at hand. And I don't believe that it's anything, hazardous or anything of that nature. I think it's just basically like a French drain, like
right.
we're just basically, water from there. They wash their hands or something of that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just concerned if there's something organic in there, being so close to the pond and stuff, how it would be cleaned up. But I'll just leave that. If you
Yeah.
run into something, just call Jesse.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, good.
Everything would be handled with utmost care. I mean,
Okay, good. That's all I wanted to
yes, yeah.
worry about. All right, thanks.
And I believe one of the questions we had the first time before the site walk was an indication of what foliage was being taken down. And you did indicate it's as minimal as possible.
Yes, yeah, we have it on that, we had it on a map.
Probably unrealistically what she really wants you to leave in order to handle the building.
Yeah, I think they have one right in the middle of the house. Yeah, it'll be minimal.
Nice little architectural digest item. All
Yeah.
right, any other board members have a question regarding the site walk or the application at this point? And anything from the public? Do I have a motion to close this portion of this public
I make a motion, we close this public hearing,
for this particular item?
this particular item.
Anyone second that?
I'll second it. Yeah.
All in favor with show of hands? Okay, we'll get back to you once we get through these other items. Okay. So the next item is a conditional use permit for Silver Therapeutics of South Portland LLC, Joshua Ferranto, map U04, lot 003 at 18 Federal Road, also known as the Stanley Building. It's a change of use from commercial mixed use to adult use cannabis store. So we'll open that up and see if Mr. Ferranto or your representative will have something you'd like to say during the public hearing.
Evening, folks.
You just speak up here and tell us who you are.
Evening, folks. It's nice to see you again. My name's Zach Brandwine. Just as a reminder, I'm here with Josh. He's happy to address any of your questions. I just wanted to point out that on May 1st, we submitted an additional letter. Just want to make sure that all the planning board members have that. It's just a parking option lease agreement and a parking addendum to that lease agreement. Just want to make sure that's all with you. Our March 20th letter submitting the conditional use application, like I said at the prior meeting, tracks all of the criteria from the ordinance itself rather than from the sort of cover letter application that's on your website. And I just thought that might be easier for you all to check through what's in the ordinance. I'm happy to answer any legal questions about the application. I'm not going to belabor the point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bono, do you want to say anything specific, or Mr. Monk?
Sure. Yeah, we're excited to work in this town. We operate 2 other stores in Maine. We've been in this adult use cannabis business since 2019 and have a great relationships with the towns that we're in, and look forward to hopefully work with you guys in this town. And if you guys have any other questions about our operations or how we do business, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Mounts, do you have anything you want to, I know that you have an interest in this matter.
I would defer to the application later.
Good. Is anyone else here regarding this matter? Go ahead. And I'm going to try to keep everybody to roughly a 3-minute time so we can try to get to your actual decisions in an expeditious manner.
No, yeah, she's.
Okay.
I've got some questions.
Sure.
My name is Justin Espinosa. I own 135 Federal Road, which is Archie Strike and Spare, and then I own property 335 Mudgett here in Parsonsfield. I've got some questions both for the applicant and then the property owner as well, if they'd care to speak to it. So for the applicant, I was curious, not being local to the area, why they chose Parsonsfield, what appeals to them about the area, and what they hope to kind of bring to the area as a business, as a fellow business owner. And I hope that they could speak to that. And then the questions as far as the building, I know that the Stanley Building has had some questions in the past, so I was hoping that somebody could speak to, and I haven't had a chance to review the application, to be clear. So I was hoping somebody might be able to speak to, hopefully, what changes have been made to the septic, if there's been any improvements to the fire suppression system. I heard rumors in the past about lead paint, asbestos, and some other dangerous things. So I was hoping somebody could kind of speak to the building and the state of the building. And also, I did want to give you guys a compliment. I did stop by on Sunday, and the bank building did look very nice on the inside, but I wasn't able to see the rest of the building. I did see some holes as well up in the windows upstairs, and that was kind of curious. But so those were my questions. One for the applicant, and then the other one for the building.
If you would like to answer to the first question, Mr. Carroll.
Yeah, for sure. I have one of my good friends lives in Parsonsfield, and I've been coming out here for a long time and think it's a great town. Geographically, it makes a lot of sense for us. It's a limited license town, so only having 2 stores makes sense for us. And any town that we go in, there's a lot of community engagement that we bring, and we're just excited to hopefully be working in this town.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Mounts, partner in Keyser Commons, the Stanley Building. When we got the building, before we closed on it, so that we could qualify for future financing and other programs offered by the state, we had to go through extensive environmental evaluations. So we've gone through a couple of different tiers of that. And so we have passed the flying colors. The remediation of lead paint, we're certified lead paint removal remediators. We have our certificates hanging in the building. Lead paint was mostly on the outside. We took care of that. The state came down several times while we were painting the building to make sure that we're mitigating all the lead concerns properly by the law and disposing of it properly. There again, we have a extensive, it's like a 750-page environmental write-up from, I think it was, I can't recall the outfit, but it was a certified environmental agency here in the state of Maine. So it was extensive environmental testing. And so they did their evaluation, and there were no hot spots. Previously, there may have been some asbestos, but they found none on the steam pipes. When it comes to lead paint, we did not have them test the interior for lead paint because we're just going to assume that it's there. So we would mitigate that to the fullest on the inside and dispose of or encapsulate it by law. And so environmentally, the building is in great shape. And to address the septic, you have the new HHE 200 that we just had done by Ken Gardner. That's in the state's hands now. We're on track to have that installed hopefully next month. So the bids are coming in on that. Take care of the Stanley Building, and then some, and that will be placed behind the Stanley Building. So in the septic, we're on track to having that installed. So it'll be a standalone system to take care of all the septic needs of the Stanley Building, its entirety. Environmentally, we're in great shape with the state. Any other questions with that?
Fire?
Well, we have a permit in with the state fire marshal, and so they're in review of the building right now. As of right now, they're developing a plan for the building, and they do have recommendations that they will give to us here shortly. And that pretty much involves, before we replace ceilings in the areas that are not certified to have a 1 hour fire rating. So anything that we do remodel, clean floors and the ceilings, well, we're gonna have to go with the fire rated material to isolate those different spaces. We had the fire chief over today, and he inspected the 18 federal portion that we're under application for. And he thought it was a fantastic space for the use that we're applying for. It has plenty of space, say in the foyer for handicap accessibility. He liked, and we could show him and prove that it had the extra thick plaster with the wire in it, and it has a substantial fire rating to it. He thought the space that we're applying for was just incredible for this type of a business. Egress, he went over that, front and back, the windows. And he said the only thing that he would need that he saw was 2 fire smoke detectors and an illuminated exit sign. He says, but that comes after a final inspection, once Silver Therapeutics would be done with their remodeling.
Scott, the deed on the Stanley Building, is that septic system going to be attached to that deed as owner?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a follow-up question. So the change of use, that's for commercial mixed use to adult use cannabis store? And I guess this is more for the board. Does that mean that that building will only be authorized for an adult use cannabis store for the property itself and nothing else?
To my belief, it would be only that section of the building.
That space.
It's that one retail space.
How does that work? Because if I'm 135 Federal Road and I'm applying for a use, I can't just carve out a room to only have that as a use.
Well, according, there was previous people that rented parts of that building, so that maybe.
Right, so that's where mixed use comes into play. So I guess, so is it,
Mixed use or single use is your.
so it would still be mixed use? This is just adding the adult use into it? Okay. So it's not changing it from commercial mixed use, it's adding the adult use into that?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Ma'am.
Okay, we are a butter, lot 5, lot 6. I think, as you know, at this point, we have apply our property for have the same type of store. As town, the ordinance, we only have unfortunately 750. So openly, we're a competition now. And I do have a concern.
Can you stand it over here?
Sure.
At all.
I do have a concern, two major ones. One is the first of all, septic system. As a current now, they only have a holding tank, and we have existing 500 gallons, and we already have inspection. I brought it to the paper. And even though they have a King Garner, have a HHE, but that's only on paper, and they have not go Saco re-recorder approval yet. And also, Scott just advertised for this building, answer your question, it's not a single use. You want to have a 2-apartment, you want to own the other side, it's a store. So the septic system design pretty big. I have a question for the septic design because it's for Law 2, was built on Law 2. And then Law 2, as far as I know, do not have the easement to have Law 3 built also Law 7. So basically, he tried to build a system on Law 2 to feed Law 3 and Law 7. Because we have Law 5 and Law 6, and you have to have grandfather deed to allow you to install that way. And also, that the septic system is right now just on a piece of paper, it's not existing. So the second one is a safety. The safety, I divided different ways to describe. First of all, parking. I have a Google map because when we pay for our parking lot, and we have a professional draw the parking, and we have been there for 24 years, shared between bakery and there used to be a restaurant and daycare, and there was another student apartment. So history speaks. So all those years, we never had an accident, we never have anything. So the parking lot is safe. And they have, I believe, they say they have 2. Now they try to extend on the back. I drive there all the time. A lot of times, if I try to make a turn, go to the east, I literally have to go to the back. I mean, it's impossible for a customer to look at a sign, say, just say to put a sign says parking in the rear and the back. They park it past the bridge already. Just in my opinion. Everybody can try, can park, just see how safe you are. I mean, that's a concern. Also, the building in the history is 3 stories. We already got a fire. That's why right now it's 2-story. So they removed the 3rd story. Currently, there's no sprinkler system. And they try to have a 2-apartment, another store use, and this one use. There's 4 different use in the one building. And no sprinkler system. They have no egress stairway. And you're supposed to have 2. They have 1, and the steps is not match the current standard egress. Window is not an egress window. A lot of them not open. It cannot be skipped. And again, it's a little rush before septic is still on the paper. They try to advertise for more use already. Not as a hazard. Like I said, lab, he said he have evaluation. Did he put paper to prove the evaluation? He said he have fire marshal look at it. Does he have a fire marshal evaluation paper, inspection, the reports? No handicap railings. And I'm not sure that's important, but we do. And they ready to talk, and also no heating system either. So, and the building, is, last time we have a fire department chief come over to do the inspection for our property. And he already said, because I already just tell them, me and Chris was there, he already said he has a lot of issues with the building. Like I say, it's up to you. I mean, obviously, right now, we openly compare the basic safety and then the septic system. And at the end, you had to use something to compare to make a decision. I think those help. And we have a lot of approval for our side, my property, not just by what I said, it's by the engineer, by the reports, by the evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else regarding this matter?
Richard Jang, the owner of the 24 Federal Road. I think for the business, use them two buildings, building for building, which one's better for the business? I think, pretty obviously, easy to figure out which one's better for the business. That's all I have to say at this
When
time.
you come to my turn, I will tell you what's my building.
Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to address the board in rebuttal to a couple of the public comments that were just made? If I may, I'd like to submit Saco River Corridor Commission decision into the record. I'm sorry, I only have one copy of the decision, but back in 2023, my clients did seek approval from the commission for use of the holding tanks on the mill property for the Stanley Building. And the Saco River Corridor Commission approved that use, as did this board, when this board reviewed and approved site plans for the mixed commercial use of the Stanley Building. And as Scott has just explained, they have developed a design for a new system. It is anticipated that construction of that system will be completed within,
Weather permitting, a month, 2 months, we don't have an exact timeline on that.
so the board has previously, I think the upshot is that the board has previously approved use of the holding tanks for the Stanley Building property. And that's going to change shortly because there will be a fully designed system installed on the mill property that will be used by both the Stanley Building and the mill, and is certainly sufficient to accommodate all of the uses within this building. I mean, my clients have spent quite a bit of money and time designing a system that is going to be able to accommodate both uses at both buildings. And maybe, I think I heard in there some concerns about ADA compliance and fire suppression as well. I think Scott has just told you that the fire marshal was there, and maybe I'll let him fill in
Yeah,
the blanks.
yeah, the fire chief.
Fire chief, excuse me.
Local fire chief was there for his inspection. It is currently under permit. We have a permit in with the state fire marshal's office. Our plans are under review at this time. So they occasionally will call us from plan review to ask us specific questions about occupancy in our plans and number of seats for the restaurant bar area. And so so far, we are not required to have any sprinkler system in the building. The material, we need to get back to them on the thickness of the plaster. It's a reinforced plaster in the bank area, which is not your average Latin plaster. It's a 3-stage reinforced with metal for that bank area. It's very heavy duty. It has an extreme fire rating to it. So the bank space is just ideal for the business that's being applied for. It does not have a drop ceiling, whereas the Chang's building has a drop ceiling to an open attic, which leaks like a sieve. I know that building really well. For odor mitigation, the bank space is superior in all respects to it. ADA, including that. It's 3 different addresses at that building, 14, 16, 18. What's under application right now is 18 Federal Road. That's the bank space, 1,479 square feet. And that area is thoroughly reinforced from the outside to the inside. It's built specifically for security and air tightness. So thermal pane windows, all the windows have ingress, egress are legal. They're new windows. The septic system that we have now that we're under permit for with Saco River Corridor is current. It's been accepted by this board through that time period. We have a design in place that the CEO of the town has reviewed, sent it on to the state. We're currently on the docket for next week for our application for that system. So we anticipate that there will be no problems getting our permit from Saco River Corridor next Wednesday, so that construction can begin on that system.
And what I might just add is, certainly if there are any concerns about ADA compliance or fire suppression, to the extent that the board needs to consider those things in the analysis of the conditional use approval standards, my client certainly wouldn't object to conditions of approval that require compliance with those things to the extent that they are applicable. Thank you.
Justin Espinosa again. Having owned a restaurant that was built in 1963, when I bought the place, I called the fire marshal's office in the state of Maine. And so I just have a follow-up question for some clarification, because that was very confusing to me. When I called them, I asked them for posterity's sake to make sure that I was in compliance with Maine state laws. If I could have an inspection done by the Maine fire marshal to make sure that I was in compliance with the Maine state laws. And they told me that they don't have the capacity to do that. There's only like 5 fire marshals. But I guess my question is, have you guys applied for a health license? Because that's the only, to my knowledge, application that you guys even, anybody puts the number of seats that you're putting into a restaurant space other than a planning board application. And what permit would you be applying for the fire marshal for the Stanley building? Because if that's something that affects you guys, that might be something that affects me. That's really where the clarification comes in. I would like to know a little bit more about that. And if that's something that you guys are going through, that might be something useful to the board as well. They might want in your application.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to object to that question. I don't think that is in any way relevant to the permitting of an adult use cannabis store. So I understand that the nature of the question is what level of permitting would be required for another unit within the Stanley building and another use entirely. And I don't think that is in any way relevant to what the board is considering tonight. So I object to the question.
Oh, it was about the fire safety of the building.
We'll take your objection under consideration. Anyone else regarding this?
I just want to repeat what just say, the septic system I have actually in paper is not approved by also the plan itself, and as a waterfront on the property, on the septic system with the chambers, I know what does it take to build. And the Saco River Corridor is not approved. Also on the plan, it's not clear written what is the for. For example, Stanley Building, as I just said, they apply 2 apartments upstairs, each bedroom need a 90 for the water flow, and downstairs is store. And the mill, no one knows, it's huge building, how many floor, what exactly. So they can't just put a plan that say, use a law 2 to build a septic system to fit the law 3 if we use Stanley and law 7. First of all, they don't even have a grandfather deed easement for that. And also the Saco River quarters not prove that. And third, and that's not gonna feed what they use. And the fire marshal thing, as a business owner, we had a daycare before in our property. That's when fire marshal get involved. Usually lodging get involved. In this case, it will be fire chief, local, my opinion. But thank you, though.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Or, that's fine, as long as you just tell us who you are and where you live.
My concern is a completely different concern.
Who are you?
Oh, my name is Kim Burnell. I live in this community.
Can you come over to the microphone, please?
Oh, you can't hear me?
Well, it's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A lot of people are.
Okay.
What's your address in Parsons?
I live on 12 Devereaux Road in Parsonsfield, Maine.
Go ahead.
I've lived here for 50 years. I've worked with young people and young adults all of my life. I work in a high school. I smell marijuana everywhere I go. I go in the post office, I smell it. I go in the store, I smell it. My concern is the crime rate is up in this community considerably, and we all know that. We hear sirens more and more. I'm not saying selling pot from the main street is going to make it worse, but I'm going to say this. They have access enough now, young adults do, and to have 2 more marijuana shops or have 3 altogether in this town, this doesn't seem to make sense to me. It's a town of approximately 2,000 people maybe, and we need 3 stores? That doesn't make sense. And I want to see these young people in this community, young adults, succeed. And no more pot is, I mean, it's just not going to make it better, is what I'm saying. So that's my opinion, and I know it's not very business friendly. I hope your business succeeds. I really do. I want to see this community grow, but I think we could grow it in a much better way.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anyone else?
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
Can I speak 1 second?
Why we are, I'm here more as an abutter and how their application will affect the mill. But I just wanted to respond to you, and I appreciate your passion. We too are concerned about the odor.
I smell it in my house.
Right. We're very concerned about that. It's a top priority for the mill. We're going to be placing senior housing as the bulk of what we plan at the mill. We have apartments upstairs that we'll eventually get permits for above the Stanley Building. And that is a primary reason why we prefer to go with Silver Therapeutics. Their products are brought in from a remote location where they are packaged. All their products are hermetically sealed, bathed. When they bring them to the store, there's 0 odor. So there's no grow, there's no processing. That's where you get the odor, is when you're bagging things up, you're clipping, you're processing the weed, you're making oils or whatever out of it. Their products are hermetically sealed, bathed, is virtually odorless. So when we met them and we asked around and we checked out Silver Therapeutics, they have a fantastic reputation. And that is a main theme of their business. And they serve, and a lot of their clientele are seniors. And so they really depend, a lot of their clientele, their patients they have glaucoma, they're on cancer treatments for their nausea, their pain relief. It's a very important factor for seniors. So when it comes to odor, I appreciate that. And that was a very high priority to us when it comes to the odor factor. We cannot tolerate and have the odor from a processing plant, from a grow. So that's why we really appreciated Silver Therapeutics. So we didn't just take their word for it or some other person's word for it. We visited their locations. They were first class, very clean. They didn't have big leaf marijuana stickers in the windows. They didn't have fluorescent half-off joints advertised in the windows. It was a very high-class, very clean organization. And we walked up and down the street to see if we could smell the entrance to the shop. We could not. And once we went in, it was very superficial. I imagine somebody maybe opened up a package. It was a very, very faint odor. And so that's why we're so happy to entertain Silver Therapeutics being a tenant. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
If I just may have a quick last word. The board just heard a lot of testimony about a lot of stuff, fire protection, odor, all this other stuff. You're going to get great advice from your council tonight. I just want to remind the board that your job tonight is actually really pretty simple with a conditional use application. It is, does the proposed adult use store have an outsized impact on the community? Are the services, municipal services, the proposed use, would they overburden the municipal services or create a hazard? And the third condition is about the sort of topography and geography of the site, which is not really at issue here. So you've got to answer three sort of narrow questions tonight, and you heard a lot, but it's actually sort of a fairly circumspect job in front of you tonight. Thank you.
So when you say the topography and the geography of the site isn't an issue, what do you mean by that? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, so in our application on pages, I believe 6 and 7, we address that. And what's laid out in your ordinance requires you to question sort of the natural characteristics of the site, right? Will there be water pollution, erosion? Is there adequate disposal of wastewater? This board previously approved site plan approval for a similar use. And so the question when you're reviewing a conditional use application is this proposed use, is it going to overburden the existing infrastructure, the existing topography of the site, the existing geography of the site in a way that is different or worse than the previously proposed use or previously approved uses?
Or any other location?
Yeah, and that's just not the case here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If you could just step up to the microphone.
Is this a little wild thing, the microphone?
I'm thinking, I can hear a lot of things. That's who you are and where you live.
Yes, my name's Rhonda Searles. I live on 46 Mudgett Road.
Yes, ma'am.
My concern is, we're talking tonight about 3 adult use places on Federal Road. I live on Mudgett Road. I go up through Elm Street. I think this is really going to interfere. You're gonna have all these little people pit stopping to get their marijuana, and we don't have a restaurant in town. I mean, if we're going to try to get businesses and support businesses, why, and I know Colleen Allen had shared there was a lot of frustration with feeling like our town wasn't supporting businesses. But all of a sudden, we're going to support businesses, and the only businesses we're going to support are 3 marijuana, and they're not even medical marijuana. You've made great points about how marijuana can be used medicinally, but these are not they're all being changed purposes for adult purchase. We live close to the New Hampshire border. And so we're going to have all these folks coming in because we're going to be a close little place. And let's face it, they can get, maybe this flavor at this one and this flavor on this one. And they're just going to be running back and forth. We do have cops galore here. I have never seen so many state troopers in all my life. We have drug issues, and I know that's why they're here. We just had some kind of shooting happening in Highland just today. Why do we need to be bringing more folks in, even from out of state possibly, going up and down on Federal Road? It makes no sense to me. What we need is daycares, we need some restaurants, we need some other places, a decent place for pizza, because Village doesn't sell good pizza anymore.
Yes, sir.
Come walk over to your speaker. My name is Walter Schott. I live down the road on North Road. And I just would like to implore the planning board tonight to do what your job is, which is to approve or disapprove these applications so that they can move forward. This whole process has taken way too long. The town spoke in October that to allow this kind of business. The folks here who have applied and want to open a business, yay for them. We should get them through the process. And if they meet the requirements of the bylaws that exist and the things that the town spoke about and passed, then all the other stuff is, your opinion, my opinion, your opinion. It's not really relevant to why we're here tonight. And I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing. I personally think that since we can't have all three of these businesses because of their locations, that some consideration should be given to local ownership as opposed to, big giant corporations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we move on?
Do I need to state my name again, or?
Just so that we have it for the minute.
Okay, my name is Kim Brunel. I was here in October, and when we that did get passed, because there was a few people here from the town, and there was a suggestion to wait until town meeting, and of course, we didn't do that, we just did it that night. I was under the understanding that was just for one place, not three places. So that's another concern. When we voted, or those people voted that voted okay, they didn't know we were going up to three. They thought it was one. Now we're up to three. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Michelle.
Really, I forgot a couple of little details. Regardless, we do in the Stanley building, I found this very hazard for the waterfront. Because a few years ago, I found this, I don't know what it is, it's some kind of machine they dug it out from the old mill. They are huge. They're parked right against my, I can call it retaining wall, and it's on their property. However, regardless, it shouldn't be used or rain washed, those rust oil washed to it's about within 50 feet from the water. So, I mean, they probably should properly storage this because it's a very hazard. It's been sitting there for 34 years at least. And another thing is, earlier I mentioned, and when they had this HHE plant, the little design right in front of is allowed too, which is right in front of my garage door, back access, 15 feet. Just say the 15 feet maybe was a legit setback, which I'm not sure yet. However, they need it's a timber system, they need to pave. So they had to make sure that it's level and the landscaping right, because I don't want to back this storage into my garage. I'm just kind of saying, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just to address those, Michelle, the machines that she just displayed, they are going to be removed here directly. We haven't been able to do anything with the mill until we owned it. There's no oils in those. They're just steel drums. They're old carding machines. They run off of belts. One of them we're going to keep for a museum piece. The others are going to be cut in half for planters and a fire pit down the plaza. So we have a plan for all of those. Those will be removed shortly. But as far as drainage goes, numerous times, whenever their system would back up at the change property, all their plumbing down below, we have pictures from the past where pipes would clog up, plumber would come out, they would crack them open, get them drained, all the feces and toilet paper and everything would flood out onto mill property. It all goes downhill, and then they just left it. This is past 2 weeks ago, they were doing the same thing out the back door with water right under the mill. It spills right out their garage doors. And so that brings me to the point. Their entire roof drains onto 28, which is the bakery. Everything in the front of the building, everything in the front of the building back drains onto the mill property. Those are all vehicles. we have to filter that. Saco River corridor, when we go to develop the mill, we have to have maintainable filter systems for our stormwater. There's a lot of improvement we have to make to the mill once it's developed. And to add on to our storm drainage, when if they had properly permitted, gone to Saco River corridor, came to the planning board, went to the CEO, got permits for when they repaved their lot, all of it should have been, it could have been easily drained to the road the way it should be. So I have pictures in there that I showed you. When they just recently repaved their parking lot, they could have easily have graded it to the storm drain that the state put in. But no, they didn't get any permits. They didn't go to Saco River. They didn't go to the town. They didn't go to the CEO. That responsibility is on them by the ordinance. The ordinance is on them. So all of that drainage that comes from their parking lot flows down to the mill, and we have to take care of it. So there's oils, antifreeze, and all that type of thing that we have to install at our expense for their negligence in not doing the right thing when they repaved it just recently.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Richard Jack. Seems like everything we do is wrong. He's doing everything is right. I don't know how many years you've been here. So far, you haven't done much behind my building. Haven't really done anything. I don't know, how long you own that building, Scott? So many years?
One. We cannot do anything until we own it.
Well, I don't know. You've been here. I gave a lot of stuff.
Say that.
Just, maybe they do this, maybe they do that. Just over time, we get stuff done. And we open the business, we run a business. The roof, when those building built, wait, the water's supposed to go downhill. Whatever downhill is, I'm not sure.
Route 25, a drainage system.
Right.
And I took a picture of retaining wall.
Gotta come up here.
The roof was brand new, 2011, the restaurant, and then also the bakery roof's brand new, just before the 7 or 8 years ago. And I have a picture of my retaining wall, there's no water come down. In front of the paving has the drainage system on 25, which that's where water go. Because if water go to the back, like he says, then my wall will have a lot of stain. It doesn't. So it's from his own tanks, and it doesn't go that way. And we're so close, all you have to do is take a look at it, site review. That's not something, you can talk about it, but like I say, and it's not something that he about it. So.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything different to address on this particular application? All right. The board's comfortable. Can I get a motion?
Is there anybody here from Porter?
I don't believe so.
I make a motion, close this hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor by show of hands? Thank you. Thank you all. Our next order of business is item C, conditional use permit for Rejuvenate CC LLC, Trevor Sanborn at map U02, lot 004-140 Federal Road. The change of use from medical cannabis facility to an adult use cannabis store and cultivation facility, tier 2, and adult use cannabis products manufacturing facility. So why don't we start with Mr. Sanborn? You want to say anything to us? Put you right on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'm Trevor Sanborn, owner of 140 Federal Road, the former Walker Chevrolet dealership. I'm just happy to be to this point and hopefully get rolling with it. Everything's gone good. The only complaints we've had is a little bit of odor mitigation, odor stuff. We've taken care of that, and we're going to continue to take care of that. If there is odor in town, just so people are aware, people are allowed, anyone over the age of 21 are allowed to grow on their back lawns, 3 plants apiece, total of 6, 2 people in each household. So you're gonna smell the cannabis. I mean, I got them on both sides of me where I am right now. And yeah, I can get blamed during the winter for the smell, but during the summer, they could say it's me, but it's not me. So that's that. But that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else here in regards to this particular?
Good evening. My name's Jill Cohen. I'm an attorney at Barrow in Portland, Maine. I represent Trevor Sanborn. I just wanted to remind the planning board what you probably already know, that there are few things in the state of Maine more highly regulated than an adult use business. So that's everything from odor to security, particularly in the adult use program. There was mention of the fact that none of the applicant stores are medical stores. That should be good news to the town of Parsonsfield, because adult use retail stores are much more highly regulated in every way, from employees having ID cards to ID checking. If children are getting cannabis, they are not buying it in an adult use retail store because of the required ID checks. The security is at a level that, you cannot appreciate until you have drawn a plan of record for one of these stores, but every inch of the place is covered by cameras, motion sensors, alarms. So this has been a long process. I was here, I think it was over the summer, at one of the first meetings before the town vote, and we're just happy to be at this point tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else regarding this matter?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Kim Brunel. I just wanted to ask Mr. Sanborn, do you have a plan, I'm not sure if you said it earlier or not, to bring the smell down? I live right almost within 500 feet of where you're growing, and it is atrocious. It's stunky, it's stinky, and some days it's worse than others. And everybody I know in my community, it's talked about everywhere. It is really atrocious at times, and it just doesn't seem fair that we have to go outside our homes and smell marijuana all the time, So, okay.
You want to respond to that, Trevor?
I mean, we work on it. Like I said, there's people that can grow on their lawns. You can't control the odor. I mean, it is what it is. I am trying to control it inside, and you said yourself not too long ago that it is better.
It's better, yeah.
And I'm gonna get it better. I promise you that. The store situation, like Scott, it's packaged. So that ain't gonna change. It's not gonna get any worse. So we're gonna work on it. We're gonna tidy it up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Justin Espinosa again, 135 Federal Road, right across the street from Trevor, directly across the street. Just as a note, if somebody can remind me to grab a broom before I leave here, I've been tracking dirt from here to there. I do not want anybody else to clean that up. I apologize. I've been working a lot today. I did want to say, in regards to the smell, I know exactly what you're talking about because I go there every day. Yep. So I do want to point out that from the time that I've taken ownership of Archie Strike and Spare in 2021 till today, that I can exponentially say that Trevor has done some work and he has made improvements. I can tell you that from my own experience. And I know that the days that he has to open those bay doors open in the front are the days that that smell does wake out a little bit. But I know that has to happen in a business because you have to move some stuff in and out on occasion. But I have seen him promise to do work, and I have seen him do it in action, and it has improved over time. And I know him as a man of his word to do the things that he says he will do. And I believe him when he says that he will continue to make progress. And yeah, I think that that's all you can ask as a business owner, is to keep continuing to do right by the people in your community. So I appreciate not only that, but the care and the time and the energy that he has put into the Walker Building. Because if you guys remember, how long have you owned it? 5 years, 6 years? something like that? Seven years now. If you guys remember what it looked like before, he took it over, it was a lot like Archie's looked like. It looked like an old Soviet bunker that needed to be painted and it was growing weeds over and everything else. And now it looks clean and the parking lot looks done over and it looks painted and it looks nice and it looks like a professional office building. And I know his plans for the future of making a retail store, it's only gonna look nicer and painted up.
For sure.
And that business is going to bring more jobs to the community, and he's going to employ more local people, and they're going to be able to work here, not 45 minutes away or an hour away. And that's going to change families' lives. And I support that. And I'm just going to save myself a speech in another couple minutes because another person who's local is going to step up, and I will say that I support local people to the fullest, and no offense against you, I'm sure you operate a great business.
I live in South Portland, I'm not that far away.
I get that, I get that. But, you know, if I was going to work in South Portland, you know, against somebody else, you know, like I think that, yeah. So I think that Mr. Sanborn here, I hope you guys push his application through because I think he has been, as well as the other applications, are well overdue in this town. That's my view.
Anyone else regarding this application?
I'll just say something in favor of Trevor. Whenever there's a community thing like the electronics waste and stuff like that, he offers his parking lot in the building to do all that pickup and stuff. That's really appreciated by the community. And he just does it, no charge, no anything. So it's good to have that. Thank you for that, Trevor.
Anyone else?
Motion,
Can I have a motion
make a motion and close this public hearing?
and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of the show of hands? So moved. So we'll move on to item D. It's a conditional use permit for 004047 LLC. Christopher Godomsky, applicant map U04, lot 005 at 24 Federal Road. A change of use from a daycare to medical cannabis facility, adult use cannabis store, and adult use cannabis products manufacturing facility, and adult use cannabis cultivation facility here too. Sorry. All right. Mr. Godomsky, or your representative?
I'm Tammy Snow. I represent Chris Godomsky. First of all, I don't know why this keeps happening, but on every agenda, it shows all these different uses. And it's, yes, it's.
I believe we pulled off the cultivation, correct?
Everything but the adult use store.
Okay.
That's the only thing that we're here for.
I think it's just a cut paste error.
That's exactly what.
And our
So-
administrative guru is not present, but I'm pretty sure that's.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so I believe you have all of the materials, you have the application. There have been some concerns raised about it. I sent a letter addressing those concerns, and I believe you have that. So we are here to answer questions for the application.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this application?
This conditional use says cannabis manufacturing facility.
They removed that before our last meeting. Remember, they rescinded that when everybody was in the appeals process.
Okay.
I have one question. It's not particular, it's a general question. I just want to clarify something I talked about a minute ago.
Yes, ma'am.
When this was approved last October, and we thought it was going to be one, when we opened in the door to unlimited, because now we are going up to 3, so do we have to approve at a meeting like we did last October, the second and the third one? Did that say we can have 1, 2, 3, or what? Or was that just for the one that we voted on that day?
To the best of my knowledge, what you're referencing is you were voting for the ordinance, not a specific number of stores.
Okay.
And final approval, just so you all know that we're a stepping stone, final approval for licensing falls in the hands of the selectmen and women. Sorry.
It's really quick. Roger Searles. Where's everyone going to park? We're talking.
Nope, come right up here for us. I know. We're gonna-
Because we had when it was a pizza place, it was mayhem in the bank. Remember when those places were busy? There were accidents all the time. And that's when they used to park this way. Now, I don't even know how are they gonna park? I guess that's the question.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else?
It's gonna be pit stop.
Yeah.
Anyone else regarding this particular application?
Last time. All right. So, Justin Espinosa. Two things. First and foremost, Mr. Godomsky has already done his part in this community. He might not like me saying this, but he has sponsored children on our bowling league for kids, our kids bowling league anonymously.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, which I appreciate because his business has enabled kids to bowl that wouldn't be able to because that's the kind of guy that he is. He came out to Parsons Field and he put his roots down and bought a historic home and refinished it and has been paying people to do work to make it exactly perfect the way it should be done historically because it's important for him to be perfect that way. And it's important to him because it means something to him that it's done the right way. And that's the way that he does business. And that's the way that he treats all of his business. And I admire that and I appreciate that in him. And he cares about this community. And I've seen that in him both as a fellow business owner in this community and as a friend. But, you know, I wanted to afford him the same opportunity that I asked this gentleman because I haven't seen him as a retail owner in this store. I wanted to ask him why he would choose to open a retail store in this community as an applicant. So that's my question.
You want to respond?
Yeah, we own
Right up
a
front there.
farm.
Sorry.
We own a farm right next door, and we do. And we would like the opportunity to be sustainable as a farm into the future. And this is our equivalent of a farm stand, if you will. I know it appears a little bit differently, but that's our ambitions.
Thank you. Anyone else regarding this application?
I did answer her parking issues.
No.
Chair, if I may.
Please.
Again, Ben Plant, I represent Keyser Falls Millworks LLC and Keyser Commons LLC, abutters to the project site. The board has my letter. I don't want to rehash all of the points that I've made in that, but it contains my client's objections to the project and concerns with the project. What I would like to say to the board, or what I would like to focus the board's attention on, is there are really three reasons from my client's perspective that the board either needs to table this application for further information from the applicant or deny the application outright. The first issue and the most basic is as far as I am aware, the applicant has not presented any evidence of its right title or interest to the property. Your application has a requirement that a landowner sign the application and sort of attest that a particular applicant is authorized to file the application with the board. However, I would submit to this board that isn't actually evidence of any legal right to develop the property in accordance with the application. I know this board often refers to MMA manuals, and I think looking at that manual would confirm this for you. So, I mean, it really is, from my client's perspective, Without sufficient evidence of right title or interest, the board can't go any further, and it really is that simple. The second issue that I want to briefly address is that the septic system that would serve the applicant's proposed use, plus the current uses of the property and the adjacent property, is not designed for all three of those uses. So what you have in the application is an HHE 200 that was permitted back in 2008, and it was designed for a restaurant, what I understand to be a Chinese food restaurant, a bakery, and an office. And what currently exists on the site is a bakery next door that is using the septic system. As we understand it, an unpermitted residential dwelling unit, and I think the applicant has conceded that's there. And then in addition to that, if approved, this cannabis store would also be using this system. So what's clear from the record is that this is, essentially an expansion of the septic system or the uses serving the septic system. And under the subsurface wastewater disposal rules, that expansion would require a new HHE 200 that would be, submitted, reviewed, and approved by the LPI. And to the best of my client's knowledge, that hasn't happened. And without any evidence of that before the board can't possibly find that this project meets your conditional use approval standards, and then more broadly, the general performance standards that apply to land uses within the ordinance. The third issue that I just want to briefly address is that the applicant has not identified sufficient parking for the project. As we understand it from the applicant's most recent submission, they were proposing to use parking spots on Federal Road in front of 24 Federal Road, and then 4 parking spots located on the back of 28 Federal Road. And the parking spaces on Federal Road are all within the state's right of way, and are available for public parking, not for any businesses' exclusive use. So we submit to the board, that frankly is on-street parking, not off-street parking, and can't be used to satisfy the parking requirements. With respect to the remainder of the parking that's available on 28 Federal Road, the 4 spots in the back of the parking lot do not comply with your ordinance's parking lot design criteria. The design standards within the ordinance require a 10-foot setback from rear and side lot lines. And very clearly, those 4 spots are within that 10-foot setback. So we would submit to the board that those also cannot be counted towards satisfying the parking requirement, which leaves 3 spots on the side of the bakery. And so that is obviously insufficient parking for this use. And even if there was, even if these spots could be used on the 28 Federal Road property, that would be shared parking, shared with the bakery and the unpermitted residential use. And we submit to the board that the applicant doesn't satisfy your ordinance's standards for the board to approve shared parking at the location. So I will leave it at that, and I thank the board for its time and attention to this.
Thank you. We can touch base on those items during the actual application process. Please go ahead.
Well, again, as I said, you have my letter. You have, just to be, we've heard a lot of words like clear and obviously. I don't think any of this is necessarily clear, simple, or obvious. And frankly, it's nonsense. However, as far as the parking goes, there are 9 spaces available. There is nothing in the ordinance that says that they cannot be shared spaces. There's nothing that says that they cannot be part of the state right-of-way. There are 9 spaces available, 7 are required. We're a 700-square-foot retail store. That's what the ordinance says, 9 available. If, perchance, the 4 spaces in the back are not necessarily up to code, that can be addressed as a condition.
Both of those properties, 24 and 28, are owned by Mr. Jiang. So he has the right to say that those spaces can be used. As far as the septic system goes, you have a report. There was, the septic system was assessed. You have a report about that. So I hope that you will look at that. And then finally, as far as the right title and interest, Mr. Jiang signed the application saying that he knows what's going in here, that he has approved it. There is no lease in place yet because my client is a good businessman and has not signed a lease that he can't, that just spending money when he can't do business. So yes, there will be a lease, but there's nothing right now that requires that lease to be in place. Okay, I just want to add something. In the beginning, the lease, when we talk about this, we signed intends to lease. We signed just a letter, she intends to lease them. But the draft usually send the attorney to review, but this process just started. And that's what town needed it. As far as parking, like again, this is our 24th year. The reason we bought lots 5, lot 6 together, the reason is because of the parking. And we did not pay for the 2003, we only paid for the side. And because DOT did not do anything, we paid in front and sealed the back. The parking was paved 2008, right after the septic system, Bangguan, Sanguaro. You should know because you're gonna have one, if that's what it is. And this is professional measurement, it's not something we just park or whatever, measurement, we have 18 total we do use. As, again, 24 years, would be always shared this way. And like I say, we change use for different tenants, it was never issue. And we have 5 right in front of this one, the employee owner, whatever, they park in the back, always been. And the side is park a bakery, in front of bakery is park by the bakery. And also because he complained, he make a lot of not even nonsense of my septic system, I had to pay to prove I'm innocent. So this is 14 pages done by Vance Leachenfield Company to prove my system, everything's, they don't even have recommendation. It's perfect normal. And a couple of instances, actually this is right, coincidentally, the State Department, he's a retired veteran, John, he's not here today, he's been there 11 years, he wrote me a letter, he actually witnessed that. And one was the daycare, they threw this baby weapons there. So we had to duct the intake, remove that. The second time was they don't have knowledge to hook up something. And that's why it did not work. So, and he made the deal. Because of that reason, actually it's a good thing. We just had this report done by a professional company with a full inspection. As far as the usage, he says something HAE for 3 use. Here, I talked to Saco River Quarter the other day. And I no longer needed it just for the retail purpose. And the other one, Chris decided to go to a different use, we had to go through more and more steps, go to Saco River, but retail. Here's how that goes, because the bakery only need 100 gallon flow per day, per the state DHS requirement. I have his phone number, I called. And for one studio or whether it's 1 bedroom, it don't matter, it's 90. That means we're left with 310 gallon flow. So Chris only have 2 employees, which are new 24. So 310 is enough for a restaurant. So he said, they said it's not enough for a cannabis store, only need 24. That's not relevant, so, thank you.
Anyone else to say anything during the public hearing? May I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to close.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor by show of hands? Thank you, so approved. So that ends all of our public hearings. So we do have some correspondence for our meeting tonight as we move into the regular meeting portion. Change gears, guys, 1 second. So is everyone on the board familiar with the letter from Counselor Snow? Did you all have a chance to read it or have any questions regarding it? No correspondence? I know we're going to take these up with the actual approval process of the permits. And we also received a letter from Counselor Burnwine. These 67 stacks in order. I have a copy of the site walk hearing ad that was placed. That's on 5/7. The abutters notices for Silver Therapeutics, Rejuvenate CC 04047. Have some notices for the abutters for Robichaux, which we may or may not be able to get to tonight. And then everyone received an electronic copy of the other letter we just received from the other attorney, correct? Which you provided me with copies of. But we did get them from our lovely, I don't want to say that word anymore, our lovely administrative guru, Roger. Is everyone comfortable with all that correspondence?
Yes.
Yep.
So we can move past that. There's no review of minutes tonight without Desiree here, so there's nothing underneath that. Which can move us on to old business. Item A is the site plan review from Aaliyah Wilson, who's represented by Mr. Park here at 46 Moon Point Road, map U12, lot 14. It's a shoreline zone. This is demolition of an existing seasonal camp to build a new structure with a possible up to a 30% expansion. So if you all have your applications for that. Work. File for everything. We've already deemed the application complete, so.
Yep.
Questions for the board from Mr. Park regarding this application? I know the only question I had prior to the site walk was placement of the septic and how it would be access the property, and it's a chamber system so they can drive over it. Do you think it's nice to see it move further away from the water? And you've demonstrated during the site walk that you're trying to preserve as much foliage on site as possible. So I'm going to kind of round table this. John, do you have any questions regarding this project? Jim? No. Roger?
No, sir.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. We accept the application as,
We already accepted it.
well,
We have to approve it.
would approve the application as it stands.
Does anyone want to second that motion?
Second the motion to approve the
Can I have a
application.
show of hands? And we're all in favor? It is approved. When Desiree returns, Mr. Park, she'll send you a letter of approval. Thank you very much for coming and sitting through
Thank you all.
this. We appreciate your time and on the site walk as well.
Yes.
Beautiful property. Good luck.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
All right, now we get to the fun part of the night. Item B, is the conditional use permit for Silver Therapeutics of South Portland LLC, which is Joshua Toronto, map U04, lot 003 at 18 Federal Road, change of use, and a commercial mixed use to adult use cannabis store. File Grove.
Yes, it does.
I'm going to have some clarification questions if you guys don't mind. So you guys refer to yourselves as the abutters, but you're actually the landlords, correct? Mr. Mounts? Purposes? Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Sorry, in any reference to abutters, I'm referring to them with respect to the,
I just wanted to clarify because the term kept coming up, abutter, but not landlord, so I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about. There are no abutters present, so let's leave. Anybody have a question before I ask another one? Good, okay. So. I'm going to be as thorough as possible with everybody because we hope that this ends here tonight for all of you. So another question that I had.
Sorry, can I just, maybe for council and for the board chair, is the board taking testimony right now? I mean, we're happy to answer questions.
I think we took the public hearing, closed it, and proceeded. The board's now taking this opportunity just to ask questions of the applicants.
Okay.
And then we'll consider.
I don't have an objection to that.
Okay.
So your new septic plan that's servicing this facility is in conjunction with the entire building, correct? Your new septic plan for this occupant services the entire.
It's for the entire building.
And you're opening a restaurant in there with paper plates? How will you handle grease?
There's grease tanks in that design.
There is, perfect. And what about washing wares and things like that?
The application for a restaurant bar,
No, I'm just trying to get a grip on, the septic has been a huge concern for this whole thing, just like it's a concern of yours for your neighbors, so I'm just trying to get a grip on it.
Yeah, so what was the question again?
So how is the septic gonna handle like washing of pots and pans and silverware and cooking stuff? Will that interfere with the store at all?
No, not at all. No.
Two buildings.
Jesse, have you heard anything from the state fire marshal regarding the sprinkler system needs, where that's gonna have residential occupancy in that building as well?
I have not.
Okay. If we requested it, can you provide us a copy of your, you said you had a very detailed document about abatement and.
The environmental report, the 750-page one? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I think we asked about that the last time.
Yep.
Parking, I think, is a concern on every application here, minus the Walker Building. I understand you have ample parking. How will you or your tenant handle that very busy road that we know that people are going to park across the street in the municipal parking lot? I think we discussed as the site walk that you can't control people, but is there any way that you guys are going to try to mitigate that?
We're going to improve the painting and the signage.
Okay.
And then we are going to place we'll have to get approval from Department of Transportation, but they do it in Cornish, so I think you'll be able to put a marker in the center. We could even have a flashing light, but we're going to do everything we can to accommodate the safe passage from the town parking lot to come across the street.
I think we talked about it during the site walk. I'm just trying to cover all our bases.
Right.
In both letters, in some of the letters we've seen, a question was regarding drainage and stormwater runoff. And in the building that your client's going into, there's a pipe directly off the roof going into a open drainage area that we all surmise goes straight to the river.
Correct.
Will that be corrected?
Well, stormwater is allowed. Stormwater is allowed.
I'm just worried about, because we don't have the environmental study, like paints and all those other stuff running off the building into that. Just curious.
Yeah, yeah.
Pointed it out to me at the sidewalk, that's why I'm asking.
Right. There's an old storm drain there. With an old culvert. Once we start doing excavation for placing the new septic system in, as we do that, we have to allow for modernized storm drainage. And we have to incorporate that with the mill. We have to incorporate that with Saco River Corridor. They're going to require extensive planning and civil engineering when it comes to the entire parking lot. They're concerned about vehicles.
That's my concern, like oil runoff from gas, or if you're building floods.
Exactly. So it has to be channeled.
Yeah.
Yep, properly, and that is part of the process we're in right now.
Not trying to put you in the spot. You pointed it out to me, so it was on my things that I brought from questions from the sidewalk. Beautiful building, and I can't wait to see it restored. As you're doing well with that. And someone's already made it clear on one of your teams that if you do need a fire suppression system, you guys aren't going to object to that.
No, absolutely.
Especially where you have residential going in. And I know that we're discussing just one application tonight, but it's all a big picture. And you said the fire marshal came through and gave you an inspection or a preliminary inspection?
No.
Or fire chief?
The fire chief today. I met him over there for an hour and a half.
Make you put crash bars on those beautiful old doors?
Not on.
I know the interior ones swing both ways if they're shut down a little bit.
Right. He looked at the windows for egress. And so he said there's no problems there with egress in this whole unit, the 18 Federal Road, just the bank suite. The only thing that he said that he will have to see upon a final inspection are 2 smoke detectors and an illuminated exit sign. That was the only thing pointed out.
And you'll be ADA compatible?
Yes.
Even with that step up in the inside?
Yes.
Fine.
He looked, he measured that. And so, and we have too. And it's a nice turnabout. It's much larger than what is required.
Price is great, yeah.
And it's just a 2-step, and there's going to be a fold down handicap accessibility. It's real important to Silver Therapeutics too.
Yep. That came up in my head just when you were talking about the type of clientele that you receive there.
Yep.
And you did indicate you're not making any major changes to the building. You're trying to preserve the character.
Right.
Which kind of leads over to our comprehensive plan. My only question about parking, Scott, is something that popped in my head during the site walk is a safety issue. If anybody was to back up inappropriately towards that canal out back.
Now, that is on hydro plant property, but the Stanley Building and the mill have parking rights throughout that whole thing. So.
And you have a lease parking.
Yeah.
Parking lease.
And when that wall gets reconstructed, so what we're having to do right now is we're having to shift some parking to the east for now. So when the hydro plant, and they were supposed to do it last year, it's in review and under engineering. They have a wall there in the canal, so they don't want anyone parking close to it. So you saw the rope and the barrier there.
That's what popped in my head with the rope. I was like,
Yeah.
if somebody backs up and drives like I do, they're going to be in the canal.
And so that's part of the design.
Yeah.
And a curb stop and drainage have to be incorporated in that design.
Perfect.
Yep.
I know if my car doesn't beep, I just go straight back, so it would be in the river. It may not seem important to you, I guess it is to me. So when we were there for the site walk in the space that we're talking about permitting tonight, I didn't see any permits hanging for the art show you had going on. Do you have a vendor permit?
Yes, we did.
Signed by that day?
So I just question the relevance.
It leads me to wonder if we have any conditions that we apply to this application, if they'll be followed through.
We did have.
Okay, I just think it would be good for the board to focus on the information that's been presented in the public hearing and the application.
Okay, you
As
can
it
disregard
proceeds
that
with
question.
with the conditional use review.
I just was surprised when we went in there and there was a bunch of people in there. Go ahead. Anybody else have questions?
Is Mill Street going to be in and out access?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mill Street, is that going to be in and out access, or are you going to come in or out?
In the future, we would like for it to be both ways, in and out. It's a bit narrow for that now, so that's why in the planning, and the state is helping us with that, to orientate parking. So if we have the distance, the state said, for both-way traffic on the west side, the Stanley Building side, but we don't have the proper clearance for a two-way traffic on Mill Street. So MERSEP, they're helping us. They have their state consultants that are going to lay this out and develop options for the town that the town can look at. And so I can't say definitively now, but for right now, it's a two-way.
Okay, so you're going to be, actually have to have a one-way situation.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mill Street.
So I'm fine with the board asking clarifying questions as to information that was presented during the public hearing. But if we're going to be asking questions that are really new information, like the permitting and two-way flow of traffic and things like that, then I think it's appropriate to allow the applicant specifically to respond to those, or to have the board reopen the public hearing to take additional testimony. My understanding was that you were just asking clarifying questions to understand what had happened, but if we're going to be requesting new information or additional information, particularly from, abutting property owners, not necessarily the applicant, I think it would be better for the board to vote to reopen the public hearing so that you can take that testimony and ask those questions.
Okay.
As additional evidence, rather than just mere clarification. So if the board wants to continue to delve into specific issues, that's fine, but if it's going to be not questions for the applicant specifically, I think it would be appropriate to do that.
Those are the owners of the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Because at this point, we're dealing with the application from Silver Therapeutics, not the general condition of the building.
Anyone want to vote to reopen the public hearing?
What?
Okay. Do you folks have anything you want to say on your behalf for this part of the process that you haven't already said?
So again, the public hearing is closed. So if you have specific questions for the applicant related to the conditional use permit elements.
I thought safety and parking and those elements were part of that application.
And if you have a specific question for them to answer, that would be fine. But just in sort of inviting generalized testimony is sort of suggesting that really we're back in the public hearing phase.
Okay.
Interesting. So if the board has no questions, then I think it's appropriate.
Would you like to take a vote?
Open up the hearing again? I think I've heard.
Well, does anyone here want to ask any more questions? We would need to reopen the public hearing.
No, I'm good.
And does anybody want to make a motion on this application?
So I think it would be helpful for the board to run through specifically the individual elements of the conditional use
That we
permit
did when
approval
we
criteria.
approved it For being complete?
Not for being complete, but for a review and a determination on each of those specific elements. So
Can everybody pull their application out, please? We have a lot of paperwork.
I don't have it.
So on the application that we have reviewed for completeness, we're just going to go through if anybody has any questions regarding that, I believe. So we know that we received signed copies and original plus 9 additionals, correct?
Yep.
No one has any questions regarding that? The site plan drawn at scale to allow review for the approval criteria? You guys have any questions regarding that? Existing conditions, distances, property lines, location and size of existing water and sewer, culverts, drains. Location names, the presence, widths of existing streets right of way or adjacent to proposed development. I think we clarified all that last time. Anyone question that? This one has the most items. The AGL and proposed buildings, which is already existing. We have a very, very detailed map that we were given again tonight from the DOT. Regarding anything regarding easements or open drainage, which I was asking about before. Any questions regarding that section? Sorry. When we're sitting in this direction, I can't see you all. We reviewed the proposed development activity, building setbacks, yards, buffers, regarding the ordinances and this particular ordinance. Again, the AGL. Two applications.
So I think it might be easier to just ask the board if there's anything in there that leads them to believe the application is not complete. I think the board previously determined it's complete, so we could.
Right, we already approved it as complete.
Exactly. So I think it would be appropriate to move on to the actual elements of the conditional use review. So that would be in the section 3A of Article 5, or Article 4, excuse me, of the town's land use ordinance.
Do you guys have any questions regarding this in the conditional use application?
Just vote on it.
Yeah, I can't vote until somebody makes a motion.
So I think the board needs to discuss specifically the conditional use elements before making a final motion on it. So I think perhaps the easiest way to structure it would be sort of individualized motions on each of the elements, and then the board can deliberate and make a determination as to whether those.
Each particular item in that particular.
I think it would be okay to do it just as an individual motion on each of the 3 elements. So the impact on the.
Harvey, I know you were asking questions
So it'd be
about
3A, 3B, and 3C.
Didn't get an answer to, but does anyone want to make a motion that 3.1, section A has been satisfied, which is the ability of traffic to safely move in and out of this site at a proposed location?
I think, sorry, if I may.
I guess we're not sure what you're asking.
So what I'm suggesting is that
In the middle of the meeting.
the board basically start the process by taking a motion or entertaining a motion that the standard of section 3A has been met. If there's a second on that, then the board can deliberate and go through each of the specific subsections, A through E, and discuss whether or not they think those have been met based on the information that's been presented in the application as well as at the hearing tonight, and then take a vote on that based on those findings. And then proceed to 3B and then proceed to 3C.
Starting with Q1, which we just covered, does everyone feel or make a motion that these standards have been met?
I make a motion that those standards have been met.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Now it'd be up for the board to go through this and indicate why it believes that these specific standards have or have not been met, and then to take a vote on those issues. So
The individual A through H?
the individual, sorry, what are
Yeah,
you
I'm confused
specifically
what you're
looking
asking
at?
us. So we are hitting section 2 and asking if we felt the subsections were
So
all
you're
met.
going by the actual application
Standards for a conditional
Okay.
permit to be met,
So those are the standards that are laid out in,
the ordinance. Our application is literally word for word from the ordinance.
what is in the land use ordinance then?
We're talking about the conditional use permit that we had them come back the second time to fill out.
To correct the ordinance?
No, to meet the standards asked by the select board.
So there's a difference apparently between what's contained as written as the standards in the conditional use permit application and what's actually contained in the ordinance.
No. Are you seeing that? Are you asking me that or are you telling me that?
I am telling you that.
Okay.
So is the board's understanding that it's obligated to comply with the information that's contained in the conditional use permit application?
Based on the application being in conjunction with the ordinance, yes.
So I'd invite council up here to talk about which standards he believes are applying in this situation.
If I could, just very quickly, this is sort of the point I alluded to when I got up here first. Your conditional use permit application, the language tracks what's in the ordinance. The sections do not track what's in the ordinance. The way that it's sort of categorized and organized in your actual application does not track what's in the ordinance.
Okay, so I agree with that. I would say that it would be better for the board to track what's in the ordinance and take votes as based on the standards that are in the ordinance rather than what's contained in the conditional use permit application.
Perfect.
Because ultimately the ordinance governs the board's procedures and what it's obligated to, actually administer for the town.
I'm just pulling my ordinance out. I have 3 or 4 books now.
It's page 123 of the land use ordinance is where it starts.
You're the new town lawyer?
I am the new town lawyer.
Why does it seem like you've been working more with the other lawyers than with the planning board?
Well, I don't agree, but I was asking counsel for his opinion as to whether there'd be an objection to the board proceeding with the standards as they're described in the permit versus the ordinance. But we're going to proceed with the ordinance because it's my opinion that that's the better move here.
Okay. So page 123, conditional use. Section 1. Does everybody have their ordinances in front of them?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't bring all the heavy stuff.
Building structure or parcel of land may be employed for conditional use if the use is specifically listed in the regulations governing the zoning district in which the use is proposed, and if a conditional use permit is approved by the planning board. Do we feel we've met that?
So section 3A or 3 is what actually lays out the standards that the board is to apply for conditional use permit applications. You'll see that there's 3A, 3B, and 3C. And those are the particular elements of the conditional use permit standards that would need to be met. So that was what I was referring to as 3A through E.
So voting that all of them are, all the standards have been met.
So
isn't that what we usually do?
Yeah.
Okay, then why are we making this so freaking difficult?
It's the size of the proposed uses compared with surrounding uses, the intensity of the proposed use, including traffic to be generated, hours of operation, stance of pavement, similar measures of intensity of use compared with the surrounding uses, the potential generation of noise, dust, odor, vibration, glare, smoke, glitter, and other nuisances. Unusual physical characteristics of the site, including the size of the lot, shape of the lot, topography and soils, which may tend to aggravate adverse impacts upon surrounding properties, and the degree to which landscaping, fencing, and other design elements have been incorporated to mitigate adverse impacts on surrounding properties. Does everyone feel those conditions have been met in that section?
So we don't have a motion, so I don't think deliberation is appropriate. So I think what I'd suggest is that the board make a motion that
Make a motion.
3A.
Standards have been met under 3A.
I'll make a motion that these standards have been met under 3A.
A second?
Second.
All in
And,
favor?
well, I think before taking a vote on it, the board needs to be able to render findings, to make findings as to each of these items, so the applicant's informed and people who might wish to appeal it are also informed as to the basis for the board's decision. So I think here, as you laid out, there are all these elements that the board should consider. So I think the board can discuss what's been brought forth tonight.
We were trying to do that before, and you redirected us back to here.
I redirected you here so that you could have the motion, have the second, and now
So
properly
does
deliberate.
anyone want to discuss the size of the proposed use compared with the surrounding areas?
Sorry.
Jim?
No.
The intensity of the proposed use, including the amount of type of traffic to be generated, which goes back to Harvey's question he was trying to ask. Hours of operation, expanse of pavement, similar measures of intensity of use compared with surrounding uses. Anyone dispute that that's been met? Or have a question regarding it?
No.
I don't feel that they're expanding pavement or anything like that.
No. No, sir.
Item C, the potential generation of noise, dust, odor, vibration, glare, smoke, litter, and other nuisances. Does anyone see any reason why the applicant hasn't met these?
I think it would also be helpful to state why you believe the applicant has met those standards.
You want me to testify on behalf of the applicant?
Not testify on behalf of the applicant, but explain the board's reasoning as to why the applicant has met that standard.
Okay.
I thought it was because we saw it in their application and saw that it was complete and all these things were in there. I mean, I'm
As the applicant
confused.
has already said that this is a retail store, so there is no odor. I don't believe, unless you guys do, that there would be any vibration, glare, or smoke from a retail location.
Nope. I don't believe there would be.
I don't believe that they generate any noise or other nuisances. Any of you folks?
Nope.
So we do feel that you've met that standard.
Right.
Unusual physical characteristics of the site, including the size of the lot, shape of the lot, topography and soils, which may aggravate adverse impacts upon surrounding properties. I think we asked the questions regarding the runoff and things like that, so
We're good there.
you feel that those are met? I think they've met those characteristics.
Yep. I do too.
There is no landscaping, fencing, or design elements that are in play here. So I don't think that's a condition they have to meet. They're inside of a retail building.
Right.
So that covers section A.
So I think with respect to the traffic issue, or item B here, it would just be helpful for the board to explain why that was or isn't met. I know there were some outstanding questions as to traffic circulation and things like that.
Okay. Harvey, do you feel they've met the ability to move traffic safely in and out of that area? That was the question you were trying to ask.
I find it difficult right now to kind of make a decision because I'm not sure where this is going. We have a lawyer here. If all of these hypothetical are passed, where does it go from there?
You mean if the board,
Final decision.
as to the approval of the conditional use? Or,
We approved this conditional use, I believe, Harvey, and then it goes on to the select board.
It goes on to the next step.
I just want to make
Selectmen in the state.
sure where that decision is being made.
yeah, so what the board would be doing tonight is approving or disapproving, taking action on the conditional use application, which would, if granted, entitle this property to be used as a cannabis retail store or adult use retail store, just generally. And then the applicant would then have to go to the select board to obtain an actual license to engage in that use at the property. So this is basically just approving the property or denying the property the
What
ability to
he's looking
use
for
to
is
do
for
this.
us to say that they've met these standards.
Okay.
So standard A is the ability of traffic to safely move into and out of the site at the proposed location.
Well, that's been brought up.
That's in the next section. Standard here we're talking about is the intensity of the proposed use, including the amount of type and traffic to be generated, hours of operation, expansive pavement and similar measures, and intensity of use, or similar measures of intensity of use compared with surrounding uses.
You're still on section A?
Yes, well, the board is still deliberating on section A, since no vote has been taken on the motion.
Okay. I don't think no one here felt they hadn't met that. We just went down those items.
We were just trying to discuss, I was asking for the board to more clearly indicate why it felt that that had been met. Is it just based on the information that was presented in the application?
Based on the application and our site walk, we feel they've met those standards. And the answers to the questions during the public hearing. Does anyone else feel differently?
So I think it seems that the board is of the opinion that all of these items have been met based on the information presented.
Section A.
Of Section A, yes. So I think now the board can take a vote on the motion that's pending, which is to find that 3A has been met.
Make a motion that 3A has been met.
I'll second.
All in favor by show of hands?
Next.
3-1. Section B, municipal or other facilities serving the proposed use will not be overburdened or hazards created because of inadequate facilities. And reaching the determination on this, the standard, the board shall consider the ability to move traffic safely into and out of the site at the proposed location.
So I think, again, the board should just take a motion on item 3B, finding that municipal or other facilities serving the proposed use won't be overburdened. So if the board would entertain a motion to find that 3B
So you
has been
don't want us
met.
to go through the items like we did up above?
So the way to do it
Guess
is
you're
to.
confusing what you're asking.
Sorry, so the way to do it generally in a board proceeding is to make the motion, get a second, and then engage in the discussion of the various elements, and then take a final vote on it. So that's just the process I'm trying to help the board with.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion that all of these items of standard have been met by the applicant?
Are we on A?
So it's.
We're on B,
On B?
including the individual items that we discuss after we say that they've been met.
So to clarify for the board, the motion and the second aren't final. It's just opening it up for discussion amongst the board. So that it's clear for the record and for everyone else specifically what's going to be discussed.
Make a motion on B.
Do we have a second on B?
I'll second.
Now it's up for discussion
Okay.
on how they have proved to us that this is
Faster.
been met.
Yep.
So the ability of traffic to safely move into and out of the site at the proposed location.
Yep.
The question you had regarding traffic, this is
Yeah.
time for discussion.
Yes, but how is it going to be applied to the application? Does it have an effect at this point?
Doesn't really.
So what's your question, Harvey? Is this actually affect their application?
Yes.
Okay, so do you feel that it doesn't apply to them?
Well, it's an unusual circumstance. There are adequate parking spaces all around that area, but on the other hand, according to the application, you have to have a certain amount of parking spaces, which has been afforded to the back of the building.
And they have them.
Getting in and out of that
That's not a
area
problem.
could be somewhat troublesome unless it's directed in the right way. Or, well, see,
They call it.
I want you to understand that I've been at this for 5 years. And I've been all over. I've had my head in the septic system several times throughout the years. I want to make sure that we have the information that we need and all our Ts and Is are dotted and Ts are crossed. Because I know what that can get into. But I, again, on the other hand, would not want to hold up the application.
Oh, you are.
If the application is complete, then go with it.
So the attorney isn't asking us to do anything that we don't normally do. He's just asking us to do it in a different order.
That's all.
Basically.
Well, again, this is an unusual, this cannabis is totally unusual to us. It requires our decision on some things, but not on the final.
Well, then we can only concern ourselves with what we can decide.
If that's the case, I don't know, it's troublesome in my mind at this point.
You're saying the traffic
Yeah,
situation?
well, the
is troublesome?
traffic is always going to be a problem down there.
Yeah, no matter what's happening.
Until the DOT gets in there and
But do you think this particular applicant hasn't demonstrated the fact that they're going to not mitigate their parking and traffic?
well, the question is whether or not that the use is going to affect that. And I don't see that to be a
An issue.
formidable problem.
Okay.
Because it's not a high-traffic business. So, and the customers will be, at a slower pace. Any one of these cases.
Right.
So whatever we do here probably would result in the same, each one of these businesses.
Well, except for one.
So I think that they have demonstrated everything under section B, except that we do not have an approved septic plan. We just have a proposed one.
Yeah. We can do that too.
We can put that as a condition.
Subject to,
So with respect to the first issue, the ability of traffic to move safely in and out, it seems like the board doesn't believe that this proposed use will, I mean, the standard is whether it overburdens or creates a new hazard. And the board's opinion seems to be that there's obviously shortcomings with the site generally, but the proposed use won't increase those or cause additional problems. They're just problems that are latent.
Just latent.
This isn't, I don't think this traffic issue is something we're designating to this specifically, this applicant. It's the site in general, because it's our first deal with the site of actually approving the actual business going in there. So we just have questions. That was what I was trying to get.
Okay, so it's just not exacerbated.
Correct. I believe. Do you all feel that? There's a potential, anything on 25, there's a potential for.
Right there on the corner, I thought we saw an example of what happened when they had the art show and people were walking from post office parking across. It just held up traffic.
Right.
Actual traffic jam because people wanted to get onto Elm Street.
Right.
They blocked traffic on 25 that way and then traffic was blocked the other way. So there is a traffic issue, but I wondered if that won't resolve itself because it's.
Well, we were told by the applicant.
Because once people get used to it, it'll kind of like have a natural flow.
Right.
well, if you have a direct in and out, from the corner, you come in over the right of way and go out on Mill Street, then you're actually better because you're coming straight out, so you can see traffic coming both ways and it doesn't hit the corner.
When he said
You
that,
have to go
he was
out.
gonna work with the DOT to rectify the situation.
Yeah, that's something up to them if they want to
Right.
put a traffic, not up to. It's a good suggestion for Scott, to have a traffic flow when you have that mill so that people can do a circle. And I don't see that would be any great effort.
I think a lot of that will come out with the mill structure.
But to this specific application.
Yeah, this particular application, I think,
Okay.
could be solved.
Yeah,
Right.
that's fine.
You're not allowed to make motions.
So I think, that's the first one. So the next issue for discussion or for consideration by the board is whether the presence of, it's going to overburden or create a hazard through the presence of facilities to assure the safety of pedestrians passing through the site.
No. No more than it would anyway.
So the question is whether the board believes this particular type of use would increase or overburden the existing facilities or create those types of hazards for pedestrians passing through the sites.
So the board has already expressed its concern about pedestrians not following designated parking and parking in the
Right.
municipal parking lot, crossing 25 on that corner. So, but again, that's a concern of anything that would go in there, not necessarily the specific applicant.
Right, and I think Scott actually addressed that by saying you're gonna make sure the pedestrian walk is well striped and maybe
a light or something.
Yeah.
So the board has concern, but Mr. Mounts, who's not the applicant, but the butter/landlord addressed that with a better crosswalk system.
Yeah.
And then similarly, the capacity of the street network to accommodate the proposed use.
Basically saying the same thing. Yeah, I believe it'll support it.
I think the street network is in place, 25 is a thorough corridor traveled.
Yeah.
I don't think the applicant itself needs to demonstrate how they're going to control traffic on 25.
I think the question is whether there's concerns about the use overburdening the existing streets and creating new hazards or new traffic conditions. That might be an issue.
I don't believe it would be any more than it is now.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll be an issue.
Storm drainage system to accommodate the proposed use. They're not really changing anything with this application that will affect storm drainage. I don't think they have anything.
Yeah, and the sewage, we've got the new plan and everything in place.
I agree.
Yeah, somebody having fun with you?
And so are you guys comfortable they've demonstrated that they're not going to affect that conditional standard?
Thank you. Yes.
Which would move us to their ability of the fire department to provide necessary protection services to the site development. I think any of these applicants, that's been very clear that the safety and fire measures taken for their state level licensing is far beyond some other normal businesses. So they've demonstrated that.
It has in the past. I'll make a motion that B is all set.
And we have that motion, so now the board can just take a vote.
Okay. The old all in favor?
So all in favor that the standards have been met under section B. Two abstaining.
You want
Well,
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't.
Do you want to vote that these standards have been met regarding traffic, fire, safety? You can vote no, you can abstain, or you can vote yes.
I'll abstain on that one.
So I think,
Are you going to bring that up or not? I haven't heard the actual.
so
Motion.
the motion is pending. There was a motion to find that all of the standards under 3B were met. Then you engaged in the discussion about those items, and then there was a call for a vote on 3B. Two members have voted in favor, and then it was suggested that you didn't hear the call for the vote. So
Yeah, I
if,
have a hard time hearing
So
you too.
you're
Sorry.
the
So you
stalemate.
can vote, the question is, do you vote that these have been, that the applicant met these standards, or do you want to vote no, or do you want to abstain? So we did an all in favor call.
Well, I think they've met the standards, so I think I'll vote yes on that.
Yeah,
okay, so
it's three.
for,
The motion's passed.
the motion's passed 3?
No.
Okay.
Section C, the natural characteristics of the site, including topography, drainage, and relationship to ground and surface waters and floodplains, shall not be such that the proposed use when placed on the site will cause undue harm to the environment and to neighboring properties. So it's an indoor building that doesn't really have effect on that.
No.
I don't think they've had to prove that.
Now we're on C, we gotta make another motion, right?
Yep.
Make a motion on C.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So I believe the board,
Now it's up for discussion.
yeah.
Whether we want to approve it or disapprove it.
So it seems like from the board's prior statements that the thought was that since it's an interior design question and it's an existing structure on the property, there don't appear to be any impacts that would
Nothing's changing.
violate 3C.
Yeah, nothing's changing. Not much.
So want to take a vote then? Let's see.
Vote on C, Mr. Boss Man.
Does the board want to make a vote on item C?
I would.
I need a motion. I mean, I need a show of hands, please. Harvey, we're voting. Do you feel that the standards have been met for section C?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
Make it official.
Guess he doesn't wanna.
You want to raise your hand?
Oh.
Okay, show of hands. You got.
Late, because we're on film. We're on film, Harvey. People will look. So people will see we're on film.
Section 4 doesn't apply.
I guess
This ordinance. It's a short, well, it does actually.
Oh, basically the same damn thing, ain't it? No, it's got a few extras.
It is technically short.
You don't want to make it there.
So we have to make a motion that they've met the shoreland standards, which is Article 5, Section 485.
Make a motion, they've met the shoreline standards.
Second.
There's Captain second.
That's,
Discussion?
Okay, so now discussion.
it's really not applicable here.
Well, that would be Saco River Corridor approval.
They've already got a Saco River approval. If I was not mistaken.
No, Saco River Corridor. Yes.
Yes, that's
It's
on
their
here.
septic that's.
Right.
So Cam, this is where we would have a condition where we don't have an approval on their septic from Saco River Corridor. If we don't feel comfortable with that.
This is where we would.
Where we don't feel that.
Where you can, so
We would generally,
require the approval of the Saco River corridor for the new,
For the new use,
System.
okay.
because it's proposed, so we don't have any findings from them yet.
Yeah, so it could just be to modify the motion to include the condition that they obtain the approval from the Saco River corridor for the additional septic system, or the new septic system.
Roger, do you want to modify your motion that the approval is condition of the Saco River Corridor approving their septic
I will amend that
to say?
to say the Saco, we need approval by the Saco River corridor as a condition of approval.
So the approval would be pending the Saco River Corridor Commission's approval of their septic.
Yes.
Jim, are you comfortable with that?
I don't want to delay what's going on. I don't want them to wait for the Saco River corridor to approve a septic that isn't designed yet. They already have the tanks that are
That is for
approved.
construction use only, right?
No, that got all screwed up because of the way that,
Well, I understand.
I thought that was in the Saco River Corridor Commission's approval.
no, same thing happened, or happened is, got the general approval.
Hey,
So,
can't we just put a condition with a date on, we did with mine?
We can.
And
Yeah.
The
then
planning board
then
can
they
assess
have
any
their-
condition. That's what Roger's saying is the conditions approval is based on their approval.
Yeah,
okay.
Which your Saco River Corridor Commission meeting is next week, correct?
Correct.
right.
We have approval for the tanks, and that means for the entire building, not just for construction
It
work.
doesn't.
Right, that's, I'm aware of that, that's why I didn't want,
And this,
Appreciate that.
basically, this is just the first step anyway.
So do you want to, so Roger amended his motion. Do you not want to vote on that? You want that condition taken out?
No, that's, you can,
What would be a reasonable date, though?
We're not voting on the mill, we're voting on.
We're not talking
Stanley.
about the mill, we're talking about the Stanley Building.
That's right. So the Stanley Building has a current septic system
Yeah.
plan that seems to be adequate.
Okay.
That isn't approved yet.
So that's what we're voting on.
Correct.
yeah, but then,
That septic system hasn't been approved. They're seeking their approval. It's next week.
Right,
That's the only thing, again, you just want to cross your Ts and dot your Is.
right. Well, that's why I said put it as a condition. you
So
know.
Roger put it as a condition, not to hold them up, but knowing that their meeting is coming up next week, that their approval is conditional based on
Get some
that
sort of,
approval from.
if it's coming up next week.
and give them some sort of date to have something put in. I don't know.
So do we need to amend that motion, or are we okay with it?
I think I'm okay with it. You're not gonna really do anything in a week's time, are you? That, this will hold you up.
I am satisfied with everything that's gone on, our application, our communication with the director, that we will be approved for our new design next week.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and put the amendment in on the approval.
So that is in there.
Okay,
So when you make your vote, it's based with that condition.
okay, great.
Pardon me.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
don't have an objection to the condition of approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would clarify that member is correct, that the current system is approved. So I just seem to be some misunderstanding about that, but we don't have an objection to the condition of approval.
Okay. I already said I want, or we do vote on it.
Yeah, it's just, and now it comes down to a vote.
All right. Well,
The vote. Okay, it's passed.
Pass subject to that condition.
Correct. That is all of that
So then
ordinance.
are there, board does have the authority to impose other conditions, but it's moved past 3A, 3B, 3C, and now 4. So generally, now you take a final motion to approve the actual conditional use permit application based on the board's
Does anyone-
findings and,
Based on the findings of
Our votes. and subject to the,
and subject to all of the conditions that were met and the condition that was put in by Roger, does anyone want to make a motion to approve this application?
I'll make a motion to approve this application with the conditions imposed on it.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Passed. Including the condition.
Yep. You Get that wrote down so you can give it to our dear secretary.
Thank you.
Oh, hell, yeah.
Thank you very much for the board's time tonight. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, that's to our next item, which is a conditional use permit for Rejuvenate CC LLC, Trevor Sanborn, map U02, lot 004-140 on Federal Road. Change of use, medical cannabis facility to adult use cannabis store, adult use cannabis cultivation facility, tier 2, adult use cannabis products manufacturing facility.
I can't read.
So on this conditional use permit, we need a motion on section 1.
sorry, which one?
Which application?
No, which section?
Section 1 of the conditional use permit.
So we don't need a motion on those sections because those are primarily administrative and then the completeness elements, but
so
I think it would be okay for the board to proceed straight to 3A.
3A, okay. Make a motion for 3A.
That it is.
That it has been met.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, show of hands.
One that.
Oh, you gotta go through.
Because you gotta go through
That's right.
everything. Sorry.
Discussion. Right, we're doing things differently.
Close.
Hey, it'll take a while.
So discussions, the proposed use compared with surrounding areas. I think that throughout the process that's been demonstrated. If anyone else feels differently.
Nope.
The intensity of the proposed use, including amount, type of traffic to be generated, hours of operation, expanse of pavement, and similar measures of intensity of use compared with surrounding uses. This is a change of use to something that's already existing there, so I think that's been demonstrated.
Definitely.
Everyone feel the same?
I do.
Under C, generation of noise, dust, odor, vibration, glare, smoke, litter, and other nuisances. I think that we addressed the one item in there, or the applicant addressed the
Smell, yeah.
the smell. And we also did a site walk where he showed us his mitigation
Yeah.
upgrades.
Nice. Characteristics of the site.
There's no unusual physical characteristics of the site, except for the fact that it has a bigger parking area that nobody can argue with than which his parking map demonstrates.
Yeah. Nobody bitching about that. Right?
And there is nothing for him to demonstrate with the section 8.
Nope. So I guess we can vote on.
And again, as far as mitigating adverse impacts on surrounding properties, I think that's been demonstrated throughout.
Yeah. All we need now is a vote on.
So we need a vote on section A. Are all in favor? Passed unanimously.
All right. I make a motion that we move on to B, municipal facilities serving the proposed use.
So a motion that
we need to
the standard of section 3B has been met.
Okay. I make a motion that the standards have been met for municipal facilities serving proposed use will not be overburdened or hazards created because of inadequate facilities, and reaching a determination on this standard.
There you go.
Is that better?
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks.
Discussion?
The ability of traffic. No problem there, traffic.
No. I think the parking plan and the street diagrams demonstrated that.
Yep.
The presence of facilities to assure the safety of pedestrians passing by through the site, which is not an issue.
Nope. Street network.
That is the commercial district that already accommodates traffic.
Yep. Capacity of sewage and water systems accommodate.
Yep.
Yep. Capacity of
Storm
storm
drainage. That building's not really changing.
Not at all.
And the ability of the fire department to provide necessary protection services to the building. So now we need a vote on this section.
Hello.
Show of hands, passed unanimously.
Yes, sir. You can wake up over there, Jim.
He voted. Section C.
We gotta make a motion.
Again, this is an interior business. It's not going to affect
Right,
this.
right.
So do we have a vote on section C?
Make a motion first.
Need a motion.
I'm sorry,
second
second motion.
Make a motion that natural characteristics of the site are gonna be fine.
And a second on C?
I'll second.
That's up for discussion.
Don't see any issues with that. No undue harm or neighbors or property damages or anything of that nature.
There's nothing being implemented that's different than what's already
Right.
existing
Pretty
for
much.
the applicant to demonstrate.
Yep.
Are you in agreement with that?
Yep.
So then we would need a vote.
Vote.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Beautiful.
And section 4 does not apply.
Nope.
And this would be the chance for the board to put a conditions on. Does anyone have any conditions for this application?
Really don't. He's got that nice primo spot. He doesn't have any issues over there.
So then it's, again, for the final vote, just to sum it all up and say that, you know, based on the board's deliberations and prior vote and the information presented, that it considers this application to be complete and approved.
Okay.
So for a final vote, based on discussions and the approvals of each section, does the board find this application to be approved? So we need,
I make a motion that on all the stuff we've looked at, we should approve this application.
need a second.
Second.
All in favor? How's that?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Our administrative person will send you a letter when she returns. Yeah. So our last item up is application.
Mr. Godnowski. Yes, sir.
Move all our stuff back into piles again.
Oh, no, I got it all screwed up.
This is the item D, conditional use permit for 04047 LLC. Christopher Godomsky, applicant map U04, lot 005 at 24 Federal Street. And his change of use, just to make sure we're clear, is just to change the use of the building from a daycare to a medical cannabis adult use store. Just an adult use store.
So, if I may, there's been an issue raised about the applicant's right, title, and interest by an objector.
Yeah, we were aware.
So generally, the determination as to right, title, and interest is kind of a prerequisite to the board's consideration of the application. It's like a threshold, whether they actually have the right to be here. So I'd ask that the board take a motion and discuss whether it believes that right, title, and interest has actually been demonstrated here. The objector raised questions as to the adequacy of just the attestation on the application form, but there's, I believe, been some statement by the applicant about a letter or an intention to lease the property that's pending, but has not yet been executed for one reason or another.
Actually, it has been executed here. The landlord has signed his right. There is a letter.
But it has not been presented to the board at this point in time, so.
I believe it was presented in the change of use.
It was.
Yeah, and it was not asked for here, so it has been presented to the board.
So it's kind of an issue because without the letter in the record as to this application, it's difficult to include that. If the board has it.
I'm just seeing something along the lines.
That would help. There's like 52 of them here. I'm trying to see. You guys gave me all our files, which have all of our notes in.
Right.
Stuck in another one, that's why.
It says something here about a document e-signed by Richard Chang. I'm assuming that was probably for that. I don't have the actual document, but it does state something. Something was e-signed.
Yeah, this is in the conditional conditional use permit?
Excuse me?
Is this in the,
Yes, in the application.
but for the change of use or for the current application?
I believe it's for the same conditional use approval.
It's presented for the change of use.
Oh. Hey, Bob, can I get excused to go to the restroom? Is that allowed?
We can take a brief recess.
We're going to take a brief recess, folks.
Yes, that would be good.
No.
That was part of an email chain with their application process, and it was also disclosed in a Freedom of Information Act request.
We're still in recess.
We are.
I'm not sure if this will help.
Yeah, we have this copy
You have
electronically.
that?
Desiree just didn't have it in the file.
Okay.
It's the physical copy we have.
May I address the board on this issue once
Yeah,
once you're out of
yeah,
recess?
yeah, I was gonna suggest. Ben and Tammy, was this attached as an?
Are we in recess?
Exhibit to one of the letters?
So my understanding, and Tammy, I think can confirm this, is this was included with the prior application.
Not this one.
And not been included with the materials with this application.
But I believe you referenced this in your.
I did reference it, and if it is going to be entered into the record at this point, I would ask to just have a brief opportunity to address it.
I think we're still in recess, but.
No.
You did find something?
Building house. That's why I didn't say anything.
What are you building?
Thank you.
Beer garden. Oh, music. Picnic tables. Little fire program. I've had to pull some like roots and.
Hired.
Stumps and.
Said he's hired.
I know.
Excuse me.
Sleepy. More time before 9. The heck of it, is that me? Okay.
You missed the spot, JP.
I mean,
You missed the spot, it's over here.
I'm gonna get your bill now.
I'm surprised we got this far. Notes on it.
yeah, I hear you.
We ready to resume?
Yeah, you all set?
So we'll reopen the meeting.
Okay, so the board was discussing, or was discussing the right title and interest issue. There's been reference to a letter submitted that was signed by Richard Zhang. I think given the objections and the fact that this letter is included with the prior application, but not necessarily this one, it would be appropriate for the board to hear from the applicant and the objector as to both the inclusion of the letter in the record and on specifically the issue of right, title, and interest.
Okay. Hear from the applicant first.
I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, so this was not included with this application. It was included with the first application. We would submit that it has been presented to the planning board, even though it was not a part of it. It does represent the intent for the client to have the right, title, and interest in the property. We can certainly submit something additionally if the board would like that.
I can sign leaves tomorrow if approved, but because the date is started, we've been practicing for a few months.
Right.
Anything else, Councilor Snow? From the objector?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the notice of intent to lease was addressed in my letter to the board. And what I would say to the board is that a letter of intent to enter into a lease or obtain a legal right to actually use this property as a cannabis store is not a legal right to actually develop or use the property, right? It's the intent to, in the future, obtain that right? So what you heard from the applicant tonight is that no lease has actually been executed. And what I would say to the board is the two other cannabis applications that the board reviewed tonight, Silver and Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate included their deed to the property. Silver Therapeutics provided to the board a binding option to lease the property. So at any time they can execute that option and will enter into a lease, right? So it's essentially equivalent to like a purchase and sale agreement, or at least analogous to it. And what the courts have said is, for instance, a purchase and sale agreement is sufficient evidence of right, title, and interest. But to my knowledge, no court has ever said that a letter of intent to, at some point in the future, obtain a legal right to develop a property is, any evidence of any right to do anything with the property now. So what I would submit to the board is that this is not sufficient evidence of RTI in the property, and the board would need to table the application for evidence or outright deny it. Or table the application for evidence of, an option to lease or something along those lines. But it certainly couldn't condition its approval upon the legal right to develop or use the property being obtained in the future. As your counsel has said, possessing that legal right is a prerequisite to the board even reviewing the application. Thank you.
And we've been here 24 years. We have a tenants after tenants. That's all we use. That's all town required. All of a sudden, they had the lawyer jump into, do we revoke all the 24 years?
We understand.
I mean, we have a lease that's supposed to be signed a month ago. The lease
7 months
is
ago,
24
maybe, yeah.
20, have a date start, whatever you have ready. But, these was working before. No one taught us we supposed to have what the lawyer says. The lawyer just piece of paper.
Just make it up stuff as it go.
I know, just make up something, a bunch of lies here, twist everybody's arms. You can't even vote anymore. It's been 24 years. How long we been have a change of tenant here? You always require this.
Yeah, no, I've been here 3-4 times myself with.
Right.
So, yeah, and that's not honesty. I don't know what is, yeah.
No sign.
So we're basing these applications based on this ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Where in here does it say they need a lease?
Right.
So there's nothing in the ordinance that says specifically that they need a lease, but as a matter of law, to have standing to bring an application to the planning board for approval, you have to be able to demonstrate that you have some cognizable legal interest or right in the property, such that if approved, you could use it that way or would have an expectation of your ability to use the property in the manner that's being sought for approval.
What are you supposed to use as starting date?
Is that,
So-
a condition?
Well, my other question is that the owners of the building have been present at every meeting the applicant's been with us. So that doesn't,
Doing 24
that doesn't
like this.
So the question for the board is to review all the documents and information that are before it, but there is case law precedent suggesting that permissive use as opposed to use that's allowed based on some legal right or, binding agreement are different. So a use that could be, or permission that could be retracted or is otherwise not sufficiently definite for the board would be a basis for the board to find that there's no right, title, and interest. The applicant doesn't necessarily have
And change future.
the ability to go forward. So it's sort of analogous to like a agent authorization form or something like that, where when you've got the agent authorization form, it's someone is applying on behalf of the property owner and they're authorized by the property owner to do that. But it's different when the applicant is kind of standing in the place of the property owner, but without a legal right to, or, an enforceable legal right to submit the application or to use the property in the way that they're seeking approval for. So since it's a right, title, and interest issue, which is a prerequisite to the board considering the application, the question is whether the board considers the letter and the execution of the application together to be sufficient evidence of some type of enforceable right or interest in the property that would allow the applicant to use it in the way that's being sought.
and if we did consider that, can we make a lease a condition of approval? By that thought process?
I think if you considered it to be adequate for tonight's purposes, then it would be appropriate to require some type of final executed lease agreement as a condition of approval, or a condition of moving forward. Generally, boards might table it subject to the submission of that document. But if the board believes, based on the owner's presence and the information that's been submitted and the testimony that's been provided, that there is a real intent to execute a lease in the near future, then I think it would be acceptable as a condition of approval.
Does the board feel that the applicant and the owners have demonstrated the intention for this to be followed through with?
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah.
I
would.
Again, it just does not fit in my mind, the fact that we don't know who, whether this thing is going to go through or not. I don't know. I guess you could say in good faith. Can we put it down as a
We could put it down as a condition.
subject condition?
Jim?
Well, I'm just wondering what happens if that good faith is revoked, how does that work for us?
So that's sort of the issue that the courts have raised in dealing with these issues, whether, verbal permission or some type of informal written permission is sufficient. If there's the ability to match back.
But if it was attached to a condition of a lease, then it couldn't move on to the full licensing until that was met, correct? So it would not revoked to that point.
But the question is whether, because then the board's determination of right, title, and interest would really be conditional upon its approval of the application, the board's putting the cart before the horse, technically.
We got a lawyer, we got the owner, we got the leasing. Can anybody write anything
have
up? Ain't that your job?
We should just have a 5-minute recess.
And the checklist did not specify what it is. We've been here 24 years, we always do this way. And the owner did not say that. All of a sudden today, you changed it. You can change the future, but you don't need to change the past. What about for my prior tenants?
So
I just, as a board member, I don't have any reason to disbelieve that this project that they've been before us numerous times.
The project, we've been waiting for a long time. We've been working very hard and you guys,
And they did
revoke the ones already.
the other application that
Oh, maybe I have some
we kind of
mistake.
screwed up our,
Sorry, but-
that was our fault,
No, we approved it and then it was sent back.
and then it
to
was
us.
sent back to us.
But the
The
letter of
intent was
intent
there,
is,
yeah.
and it is dated October 3rd, 2024.
Because meeting take forever. One meeting after we
And-
found a mistake.
I mean, the objection has been raised, so it's for the board to decide whether they believe that whether it believes that the
So you need us to
statements
take a
and
vote.
everything is something that it would recognize as, illegally enforceable or non-revocable.
Further consideration, I think Scott's brought this up before. This isn't the first time we've heard this. Last time,
We're granted a
They've had
waiver.
lots of notice,
yeah.
lots of notice.
I mean, I don't know. If the board has concerns
First time we've
about
heard this.
making a determination as to right title and interest, my suggestion, there's a special meeting called already for the 28th, would be to table consideration pending submission of some type of document that the board would consider more justifiable as a basis for right title and interest. But I think it's up to the board to determine whether it believes that the information, the letter, and the signature on the application are sufficient for its own purposes.
So we need to take it to a board vote.
Pretty much.
A board vote either to.
So I need a
Accept
motion
it,
to either table this application or to accept it, accept that the board believes that the right title and interest has been satisfied to them.
So is
that the wording you're looking for?
Well, I think the board needs to determine whether
which one they're
right
gonna vote
title and
for.
interest has been demonstrated. And then if it votes not to, then I believe a vote to table rather than deny the application might be appropriate.
Okay, so then we would need a motion either way, that the board has determined. Well, we would start with that.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion that the board has determined that right title and interest has been demonstrated?
I'll make a motion that right title and interest is
Speak up.
intended.
He made a motion that right title and interest, that he feels the board has sufficient right title and interest proven. He needs a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? It's passed. So now we need to move forward.
Fast. Where are we?
Now we're at 3A.
3A. Glad you were paying attention. Make a motion on it now?
Yes, it would be
I need
in
a
order.
motion for 3A that the applicant has demonstrated.
I make a motion on 3A. Motions have been stated.
Second.
All in favor?
No. Discussion.
No discussion, Jesus. 5 years and having a hard time changing things.
Yeah, I know.
The site of the proposed use compared with surrounding uses has been met. Does the board feel that?
Yep.
That the intensity of the proposed use, including type of traffic to be generated, hours of operation, and similar measures of intensity of use compared with surrounding areas have been met? I don't believe there's any expansive pavement indicated.
No.
Potential generation of noise, dust, odor, vibration, glare, smoke, litter, and other nuisances.
None of that. No.
And we've addressed the odor issue.
Yep. Usual physical characteristics.
Unusual physical characteristics of the site, including the size of the lot, shape of the lot, topography, soils, may tend to aggravate adverse impacts upon surrounding properties.
Looks good.
Look at that. There's no landscaping or fencing or design elements that are going to impact other properties, or they haven't attempted to demonstrate that, or either way.
Yep.
So I feel that's okay.
Yep. Vote on it, they're all good.
So all that feel that those standards have been met on section 3. Show of hands. 3A, rather. It's passed.
Where did distance come in?
Distance of the
Public
businesses.
Library?
Schools and stuff like that.
The distance between approved use is a matter for the select board as part of the licensing process.
Right.
Sorry, it's a matter for the select board as part of the licensing process.
Or code enforcement, whatever, yeah.
So we need a
Make a
motion on section B.
I'll make a motion for section B, municipal facilities serving proposed
Okay.
uses.
Second.
Second.
Jim beat him to it, so discussion.
Ability traffic move into and out of the
Discuss Route
site.
25.
Yeah,
And I don't think pedestrian traffic was a concern.
no,
It's the same thing with the street network as other
Yeah.
applicants.
pretty much.
We saw that the
They had a sewage plan and all that.
sewage plan, and they've
Yep.
had a recent inspection, which they demonstrated. I don't think the storm drainage is going to be caused anything differently.
Same with the fire
Same with the
department.
fire department, they have access to the space.
Yep,
So we need to vote that the standards have been met for section B. Show of hands. It's passed. Section C.
I make a motion for section C, natural characteristics of the site.
Second on section C.
I'll second.
Okay, for discussion.
Groundwater floodplain, such proposed, would work in.
There's nothing changing.
Nothing changes.
Business.
No,
So we would need a vote, show of hands on section C. Approved. It's the septic's already approved through Shorelands.
right, we don't have to deal with that, do we?
Oh, we need to vote on it. Your motion,
Vote on what?
motion on section 4.
I make a motion on section 4.
Second.
Second.
So this septic, which would be the things to address in Shoreland, has already been approved.
Right,
So do we have a vote? And the conditional approval, we're going to ask for a signed lease between the landlord and the applicant who have been present at each meeting. I believe but that's someone else's motion.
yeah.
So I think you could wrap it up into a final motion for approval. So it would just be to
Yeah.
approve the application based on the information and the
Put a condition.
board's deliberations, subject to the condition of a submission of a executed lease between the landowner and the applicant.
What he said, I make that motion. Seriously.
Roger's echoing.
Roger's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Roger's echoing that he's got his law degree.
Yes,
And
sir.
that his motion is that we vote to approve the application based on the
Lease
the
agreement.
lease agreement.
Right title and interest. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Passed. So I need a motion to table our next item, which is the daycare
Kimberly
application.
Ritchie.
Site plan review for Kimberly Robichaux, map R8, lot 221, 157 Hussey Road. It's a proposed family childcare facility.
Okay, make a motion that we table site plan review for Kimberly Robichaux
Till next week.
till next week.
All in favor? Sorry,
No, go ahead.
all in favor? Jim, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's approved.
Just one more housekeeping item, which is that when the board acts on permits subject to conditions, there's a requirement for a written finding. So is Desiree generally
She can do it
responsible for
remotely.
handling that?
Yeah.
Okay, so she'll handle
She's watching
that.
me.
She's watching
Okay,
us
great.
right now.
So
Yeah.
she'll handle that.
She wanted to know if you would like to do it.
I don't know if the
I don't
town-
think that was a.
I don't know if the town wants to pay
Yeah.
me to do that, but,
Well, the last lawyer told us that
And
she
then-
couldn't write them, that we had to.
and then, are those generally signed just by the chair or? Okay, so
They are.
that should be fine.
So we need to schedule a workshop for Wednesday, June 5th. You want to have a workshop for Wednesday, June 5th?
No,
No. We have a workshop, do I have a second?
yeah.
Yours must have voted.
Oh, okay.
And that,
I'll second it.
all in favor? No workshop on the 5th? Public questions? I have a few questions of public.
There's a guy on the.
But I'm gonna ask them when we're done.
I hear ya.
Yeah, me too. Don't run anywhere. Do you want to go ahead and hit the questions now, or you want to do them later? Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Gotta get some of this stuff.
So I'm sorry, I showed up late and then I totally changed how the board functions.
Well,
I apologize for that.
It's not a big deal, that part. We're just not used to functioning that way, and
Yeah.
it's,
Everything you had us do
understanding.
is exactly how we would have come to the same result. We covered it all the same.
We would have covered it in 10 minutes.
It's, and we probably had someone watch one of our previous meetings wouldn't look like assholes, because you made us look pretty stupid. And it also appeared that you were more working for
A different one.